Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, here from Zurich, from the Zuri-Invest event. And it's my honor and pleasure to start the day with the first interview with Sam Pazuki, the CEO of Matador Mining. Sam, welcome and good morning. Long time no see. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well, Jochen. It's great to be here on such a great platform.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having you back. We know us since the good old times with Oceana Gold. Now you're the CEO of Matador Mining, your, I would say, own company now in the driver's seat. Please give us a short overview on Matador Mining. Where are you based? What are you doing?
Yeah, so Matador Mining is an Australian listed company. So another Australian company that I'm a part of. Its principal asset is in Newfoundland, in eastern part of Canada. Newfoundland is, I'd say, it's one of the last final frontiers of top jurisdictions where there's been very little work in terms of exploration. So we're based there, our project is there, and we've got one of the largest land packages on the island.
Wow, how large is the land package?
Yeah, so there are two main structures, gold structures in Newfoundland. One's called the Cape Ray Valentine Lake Shear, which hosts Marathon Gold's 5 million ounces. We have 120 kilometers of that same structure. So we basically have it from the coast all the way up. And then there's a gap between us and Marathon, but we've got 120 kilometers of this structure. I believe that makes us the largest landholder of the actual structure.
Okay.
The other structure is called the Hermitage Flexure. We've got a very early stage project there called the Hermitage Project, and that's 27 kilometers of continuous strike.
Okay, so the focus is on the first project, I assume.
That's right. Because we've got such it's a double-edged sword. It's great to have the amount of ground that we have, because that just opens you up in terms of finding big discoveries, big deposits, and that's what we're looking for, is a multi-million ounce deposit. We've got an 840,000 ounce deposit on the Cape Ray Shear.
So you have a resource already.
We do have a resource, 840,000 ounces at 2 grams. It's a JORC resource.
Open pittable?
It's 96% of it is less than 150 meters away.
Okay.
150 meters from surface. So it's open pittable. We've actually, when I joined in May of last year, I decided that there's been very little in terms of exploration effort on the ground that we have. So we decided to actually move away from that resource corridor, I call it, to a more greenfield strategy. So we went to a new area, which is about 30 kilometers away from the resource area. It's an area called Malachite. It has the largest structural bend in the Cape Ray Shear, and a bunch of cross-cutting structures that splay off of it. So from a geological perspective, it's got all the characteristics you'd be looking for to host a multi-million ounce deposit. So that's where our focus is right now. We will do work on a couple of other targets on the Cape Ray Shear, including where we have a resource. And then we'll do a little bit of work at Hermitage as well, because there's some exciting characteristics and features on that project specifically.
Okay, super. As you said, it's a very large land package. I know it, for example, from Ecuador, where the land holding costs, the annual costs are very high. What is the case with you in Newfoundland?
Yeah, so the costs are generally modest, but they do increase with time. So the longer you hold the ground, the more it costs. But you can offset the cost for the land by the work that you invest into the ground. So if your costs are, say, X, and you're doing exploration works, drilling or geophysics, those costs go towards holding the land. So if it just sits idle, you're paying the government cash just to keep the ground. So when you do work, that offsets your cost of holding the ground.
Super. And I mean, that makes really sense, because you are, let's call it, forced to do something, and finally you want to deliver, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, this is why I was saying it's a double-edged sword. I mean, it's great to have the ground that you have and the scale that you have, but you also have to do the work. That's where geologists, I find, might get lost in terms of wanting to do everything and covering everything and holding on to ground that, either we pay the government to hold it or we do work on it. But I've instilled a more focused approach to exploration. Malachite is a highly prospective area. It's large. It's larger than what hosts Marathon Gold's 5 million ounces. So a junior company could just have malachite and spend 3-5 years exploring it, whereas we have 5 or 6 malachite type style areas, all with different features that are exciting, but we have to stay focused, and that's why we're going to focus on malachite.
Okay, super. So what is the game plan for this year? We are now in April. What's going on?
Yeah, so it's almost been a year for me, and so it's been difficult, a challenging market for the junior exploration company. We're still an Australian company, and one of my mandates, one of my key strategic objectives is to make Matador a Canadian company. So looking at basically advancing that strategy, I refer to it as the re-strategy because there's a number of different elements, part of the strategy that begin with RE. So it's to re-domicile Matador as a Canadian company. We'll do that through a reverse takeover of some entity. We will restructure the capital structure. So we'll roll back the shares so we have a lower share count. Australians like to have high share counts. And we'll have a dual listed structure. So we'll be ASX, secondary listing, and then a TSX primary listing. And as part of this, we'll also look to do a rebranding. So we'll actually move away from the name Matador and we'll rebrand as a different entity. And basically, as we emerge out of this process, we will be a new company. We've got a great foundation with, again, the land package that we have. We've got a tremendous group of shareholders. B2 Gold is our largest shareholder.
That would be also one of my questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got all the right pieces. This is a key strategic objective of mine, to really unlock some built-up demand for Matador. That's there because we don't have a TSX listing, and there's a number of buy side and sell side in my network from Oceana Gold that are quite interested in being part of this story.
Okay, super. What is cash in the bank?
We've got about 8 million cash in the bank.
Okay, so you have finance for this year. That's fine.
So our program is based on how much cash we have in the bank. So our exploration program is designed based on that, not designed based on a hope of a financing down the road. So it's because we've changed strategy, it's a bit of a ramp up in terms of the scale of work that we can do. And so right now we're not doing any work because of the winter season, but and with spring here, we're going to wait for the melt off, and then we'll get back into the field in May and start the drilling program and exploration work.
Okay, how many meters do you think you might drill? I know it's a forward-looking statement, but just give us an idea. Yeah,
it's interesting. When I joined, it seemed like a KPI for the company was number of meters drilled. And I'd say there was it's the wrong way to look at it. For us, we've got to ensure that every dollar we're spending is going to generate the highest return on investment. So it's not so much how many meters we drill. If we're hitting into things, we'll drill more. Right now, our budget is based on the 3,000 to 5,000 meter program. That could either be 3,000 or it might be 5,000. It all depends on how successful we are. So it's not so much the number of meters we drill. It's really tagging into something. Once we've tagged into something, then you'll see if meters drilled is a key metric, then you'll see that will increase.
Okay, super. Perfect. When do you think you can start? Maybe next year, I don't know, a PEA or something? What would be the plan for that? Because that gives more of a proof then.
Yeah, so what I inherited was a company with a resource that was on the path of permitting a starter mine that has a PEA already. So that PEA was published in 2020. I've moved away from that. I've maintained the option of continuing the permitting process, but I'm not a believer in starter mines, especially since we're looking 30 kilometers away. If you build a processing plant where we've got a resource based on that resource and you make a discovery 30, 40, 50 kilometers away, then it's highly unlikely that you're going to be able to transport the ore back to that facility. So we have to see where we've got the big discoveries, ensure that we've got a multi-million ounce deposit, and see if that's the right spot for a processing plant, and then see what makes sense in terms of transport.
Okay, super. Sounds like a game plan. I have a good feeling that we hear a lot more from you. And wish you well for that. Please keep us posted.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sam. Super. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, there was Sam Pazuki, the CEO of Matador Mining. And you heard it. Very interesting ground here in Newfoundland with 2 projects. And with one project really focused on here, $8 million in the bank. B2 is a big shareholder and also some other good shareholders in here. And I think that's great story now with Sam. He has started that stuff, and you should really follow that stock. Thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Zurich.